Hiya, welcome to Chris Parkin's Shooting Sports. Today we've got a slightly different brief review rifle on. This is the Hatsan Nova Tact air rifle. It's an FAC air rifle and it's been very generously loaned to me by Edgar Brothers in the UK. This rifle features a 23.5-inch shrouded barrel. It's 177, maximum velocity we've had is 1,050 feet per second, which has given me 25.3 foot-pounds with a 10.34 grain pellet. Averaging out, it's doing 1,029 foot-pounds, which is about 23 foot-pounds, I think, off the top of my head. It's a 500cc buddy bottle. I've been shooting as many as 130 shots out of it quite easily, but that's been for plinking use. I would say after testing it, 70 shots of the best balance in the pressure curve is the way to go, because I don't believe this is a regulated rifle, so you do notice a definite pressure curve using it. It's got a 10-round magazine, background safe and everything, so I will be doing some dry firing now. It's a side lever opening bolt. The magazine has got a little bolt of its own at the front there and pops out. 10 rounds in that one, and there's another one in here that fits in its own little pocket for a spare. So hold that forward on the catch, put the magazine in under spring, that flips back, load it, you're ready to go. It's an automatic safety catch, so don't forget to push it forward for every shot. Safe dry fire, bang. The trigger's breaking at about 900 grams. And it's a two-stage. It says it's gold-plated on the website, but I don't think it's gold-plated. It's more likely some kind of brass plated and copper plating, something like that. Cocking efforts, it needs a fair tug actually, but contrary to that, the rifle's actually great for all shooters. Being FAC, you're not going to be giving it to other people to shoot, but if you're size dependent on it, it'll go down to an 11.5-inch length of pull from a 15.5-inch length of pull. It's fully adjustable like this. And you've also got adjustability on the cheek piece, which will go up and down as well. Most importantly, the cheek piece is nice and narrow, so it goes into your cheekbone, it doesn't displace your jaw. Other factors I love about it: it's completely ambidextrous, AR-15 style. More so than that, there's a full shroud on the underneath, like a forend on the buddy bottle, which doesn't use the buddy bottle's valve as any kind of stress-bearing member, and you've got a Picatinny mount here for a bipod. So you're not left with a silly bipod system in front of the trigger guard with your gun acting like a seesaw. This one will go down and it will rest quite nicely with plenty of sort of wheelbase between the front and back end of the gun. There is a butt hook, but it's not huge. Rubber recoil pad, you don't need it, but it's nice and smooth, pretty grippy in your shoulder, so it's not going to be falling around. And it's got swivels attached for a sling. So those are some of the details. Feel free to look on the website and you can find even more, but I'm not going to bore you. This is my pros and cons and highlights. I love the fact you've got an 11 or 22mm scope rail on it. It gives you more mounting versatility, especially if you're going to be using night vision. What else can I blast at you in this very short time frame? Don't know. Watch the rest. There's a bit of range time. After that, I'll sum up. So let's give you a real world weight on this gun. That's fully set up, ready to shoot. We've got a bipod on it, we've got a scope on it, and that is coming in at, I'm just going to have to move away slightly so it's not on the bench. 5.5 kilos. 5.5 kilos is going to work out to about 11 pounds. Sorry, 12.5 pounds. It's by no means a lightweight rifle, and it's not the shortest rifle because it's 48 inches long with a 14-inch length of pull at about that point there. But it's very pointable. It's very well balanced, and it's easy to tune for your own preferences. So you've seen me set it up on camera within about 2 or 3 seconds. I might go one shorter on that one. Yeah, I'm liking it. The balance point's great because it's just here basically at the base of the buddy bottle. That makes the gun quite versatile. You'll see me taking a few shots with it from different positions. Quite a lot of shooting prone, plenty of shooting bench rested. And when I've been hunting, I've been taking squirrels, you know, using tree supports, rest, things like that. All the improvised stuff. All loading and feeding has been perfect. Yes, it takes a little bit more effort to cock than some. It disrupts your point of aim slightly if you're in a difficult position. But let's go for another dry fire again because I'm just going to double check the trigger weight for you. This is in grams on the 2-stage trigger. First stage comes in at 407 grams, squeezing through. Gives a break at 901 grams, which is 1 pound and 16 ounces. Well, 1 pound 15.8. Had it been 16, it would have rounded up to 2 pounds. Point is, that's a great gun because you can cock it, you've got plenty of space in the trigger guard, you can go through the first stage quite consistently, and you've got a really, really consistent pull on it. If I was being really picky, it's got quite a spongy over travel, but to be fair, once it's into the over travel, the shot's done anyway. What else do I like about it? I like the fact you can take the barrel shroud off pretty easily. I'll spin this off here, and it doesn't seem to affect the point of zero either. So if I hold the barrel shroud there, you get an idea for the length of the silencer, etc. on the end. Slots back on because the end's threaded, muzzle's threaded. That pops back into the front of the receiver, and it tightens down. And lo and behold, excellent Turkish manufacturing, because when you get that fully tight and nipped up, the flat on the underside runs parallel with the buddy bottle. I think when it comes to retail price, I can't quote you the exact one because A, I don't know it, and B, YouTube don't like it. So, speedy review. There we go. I'm really picky, I'm very hard to please, but I've actually enjoyed shooting this rifle, so much so I did a brief video on it. So, stick with it. Enjoy the Hatsan. Look up Edgar Brothers in the UK. I can't give you exact links and details. Again, YouTube don't like those kind of things. Go for it, because the Hatsan Nova Tact, whether you go for the standard Nova, this is the synthetic tactical, or the low energy 12 foot-pound legal limit, or this is an FAC, what a cracking gun. Today's a slightly complicated test I'm going to do. Complicated more, not in the actual gun itself. This is a Hatsan Nova Tact FAC. It's a 177. It's producing just over 1,000 feet per second. Here's the thing. I'm going to try and record every single shot, every single magazine change from the full 250 bar fill on the buddy bottle. Got a target set out just over 50 meters. It's a little bit breezy. I'm not going to make any apologies for the size of groups, etc. What we're really interested in is seeing if I can record every shot, every velocity reading, which will then give me an overall average anyway on the chronograph. But what I want to do is record it all on camera, and it will hopefully pick up slips, mistakes, everything about a real world long shot string with the gun. So stay with me. Apologies in advance if I've got to stop, pause or break for anything, because I might need to change some batteries. Magazine number 1. First of all, providing I remember to open the bolt, loading this rifle is very easy, because we just push that down under spring tension, flick that locks it in, click it into position, and the bolt closes. Now, had I done that as a straight procedure, the bolt would have been aligned anyway. So, shot number 1, here we go. I'm just going to shoot them as long strings. I'm not going to concentrate too much other than a precise aim. You can see the magazine, sorry, the safety catch is automatic, and I have to turn it off after each reload. Is that our first magazine? Nope, there are 3 left to go. So absolutely typical is the fact that the whole procedure has already gone wrong, because what I don't want to do is do any dead fires. Let's hope on that one. There's 3 rounds left in this. Okay, there's 1 spare one we've lost already out the first mag. I need to count to 10. As you can imagine, there's quite a lot to do simultaneously. So all I'm really concentrating on is trying to count the number of shots, which I didn't do very well to start with. More importantly, making sure every shot is well released and on target, because this test is going to take some time. And I have to say, the group is not looking terribly impressive. But at the moment, I'm perhaps more concerned with assessing the shot count. So that's 12 shots now. So you get the idea. So stick with it. I'll probably fast forward through some of the video, but anyway, you get the idea of what we're going to do. I'll also warn you now that not all elements of the video timeline will edit out correctly, because I'll probably fast forward through elements like the magazine loading and things like that. So it won't necessarily always tie in with the shots on target. The fill gauge is on the underside of this rifle, and it's supposed to run at 250 bar, so it's well in the green at the moment. But I think rather than worrying too much about the fill gauge, I filled it from 250 bar on my bottle. I'm keeping an eye on the chronograph directly ahead of me. It's about 3 meters away, and I'll be, when the velocity changes significantly, that's when I'm going to realise it's emptying out. Because I think that first group might have been slightly over pressure, because it hasn't shot as well as the rifle normally shoots. Got to say, if the rifle was mine, I'd do something to disengage this automatic safety, because the lever takes quite a bit of effort to cock it, and that gives you a bit of rifle disturbance. But having to do everything and then move the safety as well from the non-firing hand position, you know, it's neither a trigger finger safety or a safety here, which is accessible, because it's AR-15 style with an underslung grip, which always confuses matters a little bit. I think I'm going to count every magazine as 11 shots, because rather than counting to 10, and you can't see the last one go in because it feeds at the bottom rather than at the top, instead of counting to 10 and stopping, I'm just going to wait for the first dry fire, or how should we say it, blank fire? Not sure with an air rifle. Dry fire to me is usually a click or a dead man's click on the chamber. So if we go 1, 2, 3 pellets up there, we've had 3 11 round magazines now. Hope that makes sense. I'm just trying to simplify life a little bit today. Velocity is still running, that one's exactly 1040 for that last one. They're all on camera, but the chronograph is recording every shot anyway, and the chronograph itself will be recording every shot, which will give me extreme spread, standard deviation, highs, lows, etc. I'm not going to change the turrets at all. I'm going a little bit low and left, but I'm just going to stick with that. I think magazines 2, 3 and 4 have actually started to move into the best power curve on the gun. You'll see there's a little bit of movement in this bench. I'm restricted to 50 metres in the garden rather than my full range bench, etc., which is super solid. But I've got a heavy range bag on here, and when I say heavy, this range bag must weigh 20-25 pounds. And with me on a comfortable chair loaded into the gun, my aiming position is stable, even if you do see a little bit of wobble in between times. It's certainly better than some of the hopeless benches I've noticed at ranges, which are usually made of some kind of rickety old table. And although this is a not quite too rickety old garden table, at least it's not something I'm paying to use on my range fees. More importantly, I've had the time to set it up as I want it. Top right target this time. It's the first time I've used an FAC rifle in 177, actually, an FAC air rifle in 177. I normally go for 2.2 because you're pretty much limited to subsonic speed for realistic accuracy. So going from, this is a heavy 10 grain 177 pellet, which is knocking about, I think it's just over 1,000 feet per second, and it's knocking out 21 foot-pounds approximately. The exact details will be listed, but if of course you go for a 2.2 or a 2.5, you're moving into 20-25 grain pellets, and 2.5 is even more. So given the fact that your top speed is effectively restricted to 1,040 feet per second, you are upping your energy. But on the other hand, what's the point of moving a 2.2 air rifle into the territory of a 2.2 rimfire? Because a 2.2 rimfire, frankly, when you get to the end of it, is the same licensing and it's cheap to shoot. Anyway, let's continue. So I'm going to move to the bottom right target now, because the rest have all got pellets obscuring them. Going to get a bit of a bugbear off my chest now. Any AR-15 rifle, let's face it, was designed around a semi-automatic system. Therefore, that means you've not got to be manually manipulating any kind of cocking arrangement. So, move on 50, 60 years from that, everybody wants AR-15 format now with an underslung grip, and realistically on a sporting rifle which needs the action reciprocating cocking every shot, I think it's actually a bit of a misnomer. It's sold on looks and cool, tactical, I think, and there are disciplines which have been modified around it, which have taken over where the semi-auto ban came in, things like that. I can understand that. It's a rifle that's been converted to single shot to keep up with modern rules. But I can agree with that. But in terms of designing other rifles to copy it on looks, I understand that from a marketing perspective, and I want a kind of AR-15 tactical rifle perspective, but actually I don't think it gives you any ergonomic benefit whatsoever, and in fact I think it's an ergonomic downside in a lot of situations, because as you can see from the way my hand's moving around the gun, I mean I'm in a stable stationary position, but there's a lot of movement going on that I don't need, and of course all that movement is affecting my right arm and the shoulder pressure applied to the gun. And okay, nobody's shooting a 100-round string for sporting reasons, but a couple, maybe 3 rounds in fast succession, the last thing you want to be doing is moving your position as much as possible, because when I teach shooting, you teach people to not move any more than necessary. one of the first procedures of shooting is to get a sustainable, relaxed, comfortable position that's not requiring stress to aim the rifle. Every time you physically move, that arrangement changes. I think I'm going to have a target change. And yeah, I can shoot the rifle fast, but it's a repetitive situation from a fairly stable position, so it's not truly representative on a sporting gun. Do you know, that's the first time I've had an action misnomer then, because it would appear I actually double loaded that but only cocked the firing pin once. I actually saw the two pellets in flight tumble after each other, got a different firing sound, and you'll notice I squeezed the trigger the first time with no response, so I recocked it assuming I hadn't cocked it, and actually I double charged it. For the sake of testing integrity, I'm going to simulate a double loading now. No, it doesn't. See, strike point on these now is invisible on target, so where they're going into the backstop, that's the first one I've seen that's hit correctly, just slightly left of centre. Probably get down there and see they're all just off the left hand edge. I can see them flying though because I've got the sun glinting off the back end of the pellet this time. Just to note again, I've done absolutely nothing for wind correction on these shots. I'm just aiming at the centre and plugging away. Okay. It's another 11 round magazine, or 10 round magazine with an 11th shot of thin air. Now that last shot was down to 1,028 feet per second, so I think we're now on the downslope of the power curve. Gun's very comfortable to shoot actually. The trigger's quite nice. It's a two-stage, but it's, you know, it's about 90% crisp release on it. Just a little bit of over travel keeps a good feel. I do like the cheek piece though. It's nice and narrow, so it goes under your cheekbone and it doesn't displace your jaw. That's another one of my bugbears about rifles. It's all adjustable. Length of pull's adjustable. And another factor I like about this rifle is that there's an extension underneath the buddy bottle for a Picatinny rail, so you're not left trying to balance a bipod here. It's at the front end of the gun, just under there. Which makes a lot more sense, because frankly having your bipod just in front of the trigger guard to me just looks idiotic. I'm cautious about not wanting to change the scope zero slightly. I'd rather keep a consistent point of aim, point of group, relative position. It's amazing actually, just picking the gun up and putting it down in this seemingly stationary bag. I've noticed I've made a slight readjustment to rear bag as well, and my shooting position is just not actually just quite as comfortable as it was before. I'm having to move a bit, so it just goes to show, even though you think you're making minor changes, I think I probably did that, it does all add up. I don't normally like to move too much during shooting, but I want to get a good idea on the chronograph. That's just now dawdling down at 1,020. Down to 1,015 on the penultimate shot. The last one had no air, no pellets, so don't worry, I'm not telling you what that one was. And just over 50 metres, it's going to exacerbate and exaggerate all errors. And to be fair, I think had my zero been correct and I just paid a little bit more attention to the wind, everything's still in the headshot and a rabbit sort of size range. But with the 177, you do rely on precision a little bit more than hitting, striking power. I do a lot of squirrel control, and squirrels, I prefer with the 177 because I do like the pinpoint accuracy of my own rifle on them. I just shoot a sub 12 foot-pound Varic HW 100 for that. It's a 14 shot mag, gives me about 50 shots off a charge, compact rifle. You know, great for manoeuvrability. I like FAC air guns, but if you've got the choice of other rifles, you may be going to look towards more a normal air gun in 177 than a 2.2 rimfire. Gives you that slightly broader span of capability. It's still grouping, 1013. And even though it says, you know, filter 250 bar, I don't think this rifle's regulated. And the point is, you're probably going to pick, you're going to get a power curve and you're going to pick the sweetest spot in that power curve. It doesn't necessarily need to be at the highest power level with the greatest velocity. You're certainly not going to pick the lowest, but you'll find a sweet spot somewhere in the middle of that, which is why it's important to do a long string test. And that sweet spot will probably give you maybe 30 to 40, 50 rounds, because it's not a competition target rifle, remember. 30, 40, 50 rounds maybe of really sweet, reliable accuracy for hunting needs, because you're not going to need to be out, you know, for 200-300 shots a day. Now with a field target air rifle, yeah, you're going to have much longer strings of ammunition, and regulated rifles are going to give you a more consistent power curve. So I'm down to 1001 feet per second now. 1005 before that one. Another pellet into the pile of magazines. We're definitely, you know, sort of on the borderline now. The air gauge on the bottom, it's not particularly accurate in my opinion. It's giving you a trend. It's moving down now towards 125 bar into the yellow zone as it drops. And you know, for short range plinking or whatever, it's fine. But you're not going to be doing that with an FAC air rifle, are you? FAC is for hunting. Because you can't use it for competition. You know, you can plink with it if you've got one, but you're certainly not going to be using it for in a competition, you know, truly competition environment. Let's move another target. I'm going to go left side, middle. That was 1001 feet per second. (1001). 997. So that was the borderline through the sub 1,000 feet per second range. I very much doubt it's going to go back over it now. (998). 993. 992. 993. 2. It's actually still shooting quite well. 989. 985. 980. Really dropping now. I think we'll call that quits. But at 50 meters, I'm dropping consistently. Don't know, maybe 15 millimeters, 20 millimeters low, which is it's bearable with if you can compensate for it. So that is one. Let's have a look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 magazines, 11 rounds of magazines. That's 110 shots. So if we take, say, 10 off each end, that's giving you 85 or 90 very consistent shots around which to base your 0. And I think I would definitely go with, off my more accurate gauge on my 7 litre bottle, I'd probably go with a 230, 225, 230 bar fill. I think that would be my starting point, and I'd take 80 shots off the back of that. So, yeah, it's not a definitive test. It's certainly not got an endless degree of measuring equipment, measuring capability, but the point is you sit down, you do it in a regimented fashion, and you can watch your results on target. And on a day like this where you've got very little breeze, just a little bit of left and right in a fairly sheltered long garden, you get a really good idea for the capability of the rifle, and you know where your pellets are going to go. When you're on spot on 0, you get your power curve, you know how much it's dropping out at the end of the day. And towards the end of that power curve, they were moving slightly to the right, and they were dropping, obviously dropping, but moving slightly to the right as well, which is a tiny bit to do with the harmonics on the barrel. But you know, there's several other factors come into it. It's light breeze, but there's the ballistics, etc., etc. So you know, don't be afraid. Run them dry, well, not completely dry, but shoot them all through that curve and get to know what it's going to do. Because to be honest, now were I in the woods taking squirrels at 10 or 15 meters, I could still be shooting without any problem at all. That's a 15 to 20 mil change at 50 meters, or in fact beyond 50 meters, about 52, 53 meters. So it amplifies the difference. And this is a rifle, I think, out to 30 meters, you're definitely going to get a 100-shot fill out of. So enjoy. The Nova Tact is, I think it's about £600 or £700. I'll clarify that perfectly when I get back to my desk. But it's actually a really nice rifle. It's not ungainly, it's not too heavy. I did have the Hercules as well, but it's a bit too big, and because it's got 2 of these bottles, which I think are 500cc, you've got one in the front and one at the back. This is a fully moderated barrel. I think you'll get an idea from the sound on camera. It's quite modest to shoot. I'm certainly not having anybody complaining about the noise. So yeah, stay with it. I didn't show you, but there's an extra magazine comes with the rifle. So you get 2 with it, and one of them will click in this underside compartment here, which gives you a second storage bay. So I think if you went hunting and you started filling 6 or 7 magazines, you'd know you'd had a good day, and I think you'd be happy to go home at that anyway. Thanks for watching. What's great about this rifle is the price on it. It's not the best rifle in the world, but it's certainly not the worst, and it's more than enough dependable for hunting situations in FAC format, because FAC is not really for plinking, but you get a lot of range time with an air rifle, and it's going to come in at somewhere between £400 and £500 retail price, which I think is superb, because you get that great 70-shot power curve off it from a 250 bar fill, which is it's by no means difficult to do that from a regular air bottle. 70 shots is enough for any hunting trip. Personally, if I had 70 shots on a hunting trip, I think I'd be giving up shooting because I'd have nothing left. What else is there to say about it? Not a lot really. It's made in Turkey, it's patent pending, not really sure why. The QE air system is pretty good. I've shot a lot of FAC through, in small garden, urban areas. You don't get any reports of problems at all, and of course being an air gun, plenty of pellet deformation, good killing capability with no ricochet chance at all, if you put your shots in the right place, of course. It's been a good one for rats. I like the mounting system versatility with the 11 or 22mm rail. You can put night vision on it, you can swap scopes, blah, blah, blah. This is a 10-power optics. It's not exactly been the best target shooting scope, and I did suffer a little bit at the 50-meter stuff because I couldn't, you know, wind up to a 32-power field target setting and nail targets. But the point was, in terms of, say, a rabbit's head size, nothing at 50 meters went outside that rabbit's head size in shot capability until the power curve started to diminish. And to be fair, even when the power curve started to diminish, you could compensate for it with a slight fall of shot. But even then, I would estimate, you know, if you went maybe a click up on your scope, a couple of clicks on your scope every 10 shots after that, you could still really choke it to death if you absolutely needed to. Speaking of choke, the barrel is choked, and it is very consistent because I'll be fair now, even when I shot it with the fully moderated shroud slightly loose by accident, still held on target, which I was really impressed with. So don't think Hatsan means low quality, because it just does not now. It's a superb trigger. I really enjoyed using it. I don't have any qualms over it at all. And in terms of consistency and usability, the air rifle was quite capable with multiple different pellet types. It did prefer the JSB Exact Heavies, which, to be fair, that 10.34 grain pellet in pre-charged pneumatics 177 is my absolute go-to, because it just seems to work in everything, and not only work, it brings the best out of stuff. So go with it, because I think that's pretty tidy for a 30-meter group, that one there. Hope you've enjoyed watching. Have a look at some of my other videos. Bye for now.